by very the people who are doing the Mandela effect, the Mandela effect program.
That was going to be
okay. We all were going in the same place.
Yeah, we're all going there.
Let's do it.
So the people running those machines, if you will, said because of the time matrix transitory type of operations that have gone on to bounce this civilization from one hub to the next as a result of these required changes, shifts from this type of spiritually degrading or degradatory, I don't even know if that's a word, but this pattern that has occurred from what is called the fall of man, and basically this interference by what they term the lost souls of Tara, which are basically what we would call discarnate, angry spirits, if you will, that possess people and pull their life force energy out of them since ancient times. And that was an old version of Earth that when we went too far off the spectrum of the tape, if you will, the dial on the radio channel, like the gauge.
The tuner, yeah.
Yeah, the tuner. And that one somewhere along the line, somebody messed up using these devices. As a result, one of the ends of the tuner went off the grid and blasted into phantom land, where they jumped out of their bodies. They no longer had a physically viable access to this world, and therefore they couldn't spiritually evolve in order to make it back into a time synchronized civilization or embodiment, which is basically like saying that they couldn't make it back to full existence if this is a type of a holographic simulated realm to begin with. Whereas we're always in this realm going to be one degree or another from the totality of experience, but over time we go down and then we come back up, and we were remerged back with all that ever has been and ever will be. And the only thing we have in this world is a continual reverberation of these ideas and modalities that already did exist, but we're just relearning and re-experiencing again, kind of like a dream reality. And so imagine if we go so far, so deep, so far away from what actually is, we enter into a void space where there's no real viable pathway to reorganize concepts and consciousness to lead us back towards that home realm. Basically, the bipolarity of experience becomes so deviated from that transcendence or neutrality point that no matter how zen a person is, they don't actually have it's impossible to gain access to that neutral realm, transcend, and then build that pathway home. And this, apparently the explanation was that because of the firing of some of these machines that shift time from one to the other and basically creating these time loop paradoxes so they could rule over certain timelines, that they bounced the edges of reality out of the grid, and they effectively put them into 0 point land, where it's described as this Armageddon, as the end of time, the end of days, the end of reality, if you will. Like the tape popped off the reel, or the tape popped off the reel, and reality basically fell apart at the seams. And so they described that happening, but they also described that was the fall of man, that was a certain amount of millions of years ago, and the result of that was the birthing of Earth and humanity into what we call the physical universe. That the only way you get such a dense existence is if all the parameters of the previous one collapsed into null factors.
That's been my understanding of that as well too, Aug.
Yeah, and the remains of that null factor reduction collapse is what we have here in this half awake, half asleep, bipolarity, bioptic, higher and lower, right brain, left brain, reptile and higher consciousness aspects of humanity, where it's all at an odds and ends, and nothing really kind of adds up unless you stitch it together perfectly and through great effort. And the idea is that that's not how existence normally would occur. It's basically what happens when you only have 95% of the puzzle pieces in the jigsaw puzzle to work with. And instead of having a few pieces missing, they took, a fraction of a percent from each piece. And then we're in this half shadow world, half, meaningful, reflective of the higher sense world. And the result is that we're either going to watch a complete annihilation of the universe as a slow 0 point degrading collapse of all things conscious and aware into a null factor where we basically merge with the lost souls of Tara. Or this is the point where it turns around and everything contracts again and comes back together into this wholeness. And we balance the harmonization, the expansion contraction pattern. And we basically, it's magical in a way, because then the tape that flew off the reel somehow lands just right as it rolls down the hill to go back on the reel, and it starts spinning just at the right time. And basically the person whose voice was mismatched with the visual, it all ends up working out again somehow. But they also describe that in doing that, it doesn't just happen, that they've been bouncing us and cutting the reel and rewinding time and putting people from this timeline to that one and switching nations around. And
yeah, they've been splicing.